Right, ladies and gents, once again, a warm welcome to you. Me sharing with you thoughts today around personal productivity, or let's just call it what it is, proper time management. It's our 22nd webinar, and it's great for me to have you here and on board and for supporting us in these sessions, so thanks more. For those of you who don't know me, I head up a company called Soldati, where we believe in growing leaders and impacting results. Apart from formal leadership programs, we also do things like masterclasses, typically around the content that I present to you in these Friday monthly sessions. We rebranded our soft skill solutions company to Sourcekiso, and please watch this space from an online point of view in terms of exactly that, masterclasses. Right, so couple of quick housekeeping issues. Thanks for being here. Please mute unless you've got a question that's a burning one that can't wait till the end. I'll aim for 25 minutes of presentation, more or less 5 minutes of Q&A. And please mail me if you want to be added to the distribution list, which I use to send all these invitations monthly. And also mail me if you want a copy of the session or this recording rather, unless you can wait till next week when it should be on our website again. And yeah, please, I always invite you, if you could mail me with future topics. It does get, we do get to a point where we are exhausting the list of topics, and I would appreciate your input because ultimately I would also like to talk and present to what your needs are. So quickly, my disclaimer, I don't have the magic wand. If I did, I would be on some island. And fortunately, I don't have that amount of money because I can do what I want to do or what I love doing. I'm just here purely to give you different insights, to give you different perspectives around the topics that we cover, in the hope that that will pave the way for you to living life differently better in relation to our topics. If you have missed previous sessions, please go to our resources tab, insights under that tab, and you will find all the previous recordings to these sessions. And then, very importantly, my invitation to you to reflect. See how you can identify areas within the broader topic of today being personal productivity where you believe you are lacking. Let's just call it that. Where you know you have a significant gap between where you would like to be and where you are currently. Here's another invitation, and I've thought about this recently quite a lot. One of the ways we can make a difference into this world is to pay it forward, to share, especially when you see things that I'm covering with you that you know somebody's finding challenging. Assist them, guide them in terms of what we're covering today. So the question might be, why Hekkie? Why am I presenting this to you today? Well, very simply, I'm an entrepreneur. And in my life, I can't afford to mess around with time. Frankly, I don't have time to waste. And the more I can optimize time, the more I can bear the fruits of that. These are some of the books on my shelf. Okay. And just some of them where I try to, day in and day out, do things differently better in relation to time management, personal productivity. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management theory, well known for that. He said, time is the scarcest resource, and unless it's managed, nothing else can be managed. It's the only resource, one of the few, well, I think the only resource you can't buy with money, right? Or one of the very few. Can't get it back once it's lost and once it's passed. So before we start, I want to say to you, well done for being here. I had some excuses from people saying that, unfortunately, they're too busy to attend this webinar, and spot the irony. Because if they could afford the half an hour, maybe it would have assisted them to be more productive the next time. And please note, the things that I cover with you today are very much intertwined, if I can use that word. Meaning that if we master the one area, it typically overlaps with another area under the topic of personal productivity, and you might just find that you also are gaining the benefit of that in that secondary area or related area. First topic I want to start is talk to you about delegating effectively. One of the topics that I find people struggle with, that they just don't get it right for some reason. So let's just quickly recap a bit on delegating. Andy Stanley said, only do what only you can do. Think about this. Only do what only you can do, because that's really where you can add the value in your organizations. You see, here's the thing. If we can't delegate effectively, it's not only bad for you, also when you go on vacation and you lie on the beach with your family, because everybody will phone you, right? Because they can't operate it independently. It's not only bad for you, for your family, but it's also bad for your line manager. Why? Because eventually when the pawpaws actually hit the fan and it might be too late, he or she needs to deal with the stuff while you're not around, or while you can't be reached by your direct reports. So all around, our inability to delegate is bad for everyone. Now you might say to me, but Hekkie, some things I can't delegate. I get that. I always say we juggle things in life. We juggle the glass balls and the rubber balls, right? The rubber balls are the things that if you drop it or you delegate to somebody else and they drop it, that ball, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. We'll bounce back. We can catch it. The glass balls, for now at least, you maybe want to keep, and you want to look after that, because those are the really top level things that Andy Stanley refers to. One of the reasons why we typically are reluctant to delegate is as a result of a lack of trust. And here's the thing. Ernest Hemingway said, the best way to find out if you can trust somebody is to actually trust them. What are the bedrock areas of, what are the fundamentals of strong relationships? Trust, honesty, respect, right? All those. And what's the message you send to your people that report to you if you don't delegate to them effectively? You send the message that he doesn't really trust me. I see he's buckling under the pressure, but yet he's just keeping everything to himself. Let's delegate and learn to delegate. All around, it's a good thing. And there's no excuse to say to me, Hekkie, but I don't have anybody reporting to me. That's not an excuse. I read this book a couple of years ago from Keith Ferrazzi called Leading Without Authority. And there you'll see he refers to silocytis, as opposed to companies or departments or units in a business or an organization operating independently in a silo. We can break down those silos rather and rely on each other to assist each other. Even though I might not have somebody reporting to me, if I have a good network within my organization, if I have strong relationships, I can ask one of my peers, one of my colleagues, to second somebody to me in their department that can assist me temporarily. Who knows? Next month or sometime late in the year, I might be able to assist that line manager. He basically talks about the fact that you can delegate without having someone reporting to you, also relying on your networks. So we've got no excuse, actually. The point is, we need to reframe the way we look at delegation and not only see it in the traditional sense. Ultimate productivity, in my view, is multitasking. No, not multitasking. There's enough research out there that tells you that it doesn't work. Oh, what did you do today? I'm so busy. I did so many things. What have you got to show for it? Nothing. What did you complete? Nothing. I believe that the ultimate productivity is something called parallelism. Let me give you an example. When I go to one of my clients in Pretoria, typically once a month, a couple of times a month maybe, I get up at 5. My wife gets up at 5:30. So when I go downstairs to get the microwave oven to make my oats and my bean to cup coffee machine to make my coffee, I'll also take to my kitchen my electric shaver. And while these two systems, call it, are manufacturing or doing things that I need to be done to prepare me to leave early to avoid the traffic, I shave. So why am I saying to you, why am I covering parallelism under delegation? Because it's the same thing, right? To get other systems and other people to do things on your behalf, even though you are ultimately accountable, but temporarily passing responsibility to a system or a person to do what you are responsible for. That is parallelism. And they, albeit the system or the person, then drives that to conclusion. And it's okay to say no. It's absolutely acceptable to say no. Too many times we want to be the nice guy or the nice lady. Steve Jobs said, it's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. The reality is my time is not your time. And if it's not my responsibility, why should I say yes? Especially when it gets to us committing to big things, projects. People might put you under pressure and say, listen, we need a project manager. Please, will you drive this? Pause. Don't say yes unless you haven't thought this properly through. My dad always said, if it's a big decision, sleep over it. Pause and buy time and say, listen, let me think about it. I'll give you an answer tomorrow. Otherwise, you need to go back and disappoint somebody, or you need to live with the burden of having too many things on your plate, and especially doing something that's not really your responsibility. The perfect storm, I believe, and I've experienced in my life and seen other people experience, is that if you can't say no, and you can't delegate. Because at that point, you break, because you're just accumulating more, and you're not shedding any of that load consistently. Number 3, I want to talk to you about prioritizing our tasks. Critically important, specifically around urgency and importancy.
Have you recently had the feeling there is more to do than you can achieve in a day, a week, or even a month? A good time management strategy solves this problem and can dramatically reduce stress and increase your own productivity at the same time. The Eisenhower Matrix by former US President Eisenhower supports you in prioritizing tasks by urgency and importance, and sorting out those less urgent or important tasks which you shouldn't do yourself. This results in 4 quadrants with different work strategies. We call the first quadrant the do first sector, as its tasks are important for your life and career and need to be done today or tomorrow at the latest. You could use a timer to help you concentrate while trying to get as much of them done as possible. An example of a number 1 task could be a review of an important document for your manager. The second quadrant we call the schedule sector, as its tasks are important but less urgent, and you should list those things that you need to put in your calendar here. An example of that could be a long-planned return to the gym. The third quadrant takes up things you could delegate, as they are less important to you than others but still pretty urgent. You should keep track of delegated tasks by email, telephone, or within a meeting to check back on their progress later. An example of a delegation could be somebody calling you and asking for an urgent favour or requesting you step into a meeting. Maybe you could delegate this responsibility by suggesting a better person for the job, or give the necessary information back to the caller and have him deal with the matter himself. The fourth and last quadrant is there to help you sort out and eliminate the things that you really shouldn't do at all. Discover and stop bad habits like surfing the internet without a reason, or other forms of procrastination like gaming too long, just to find an excuse for not being able to deal with important tasks in the first and second quadrant. And that's it. Give it a try yourself, or head on over to eisenhower.me for more information. And don't forget, as Dwight Eisenhower once said, what's important is seldom urgent, and what's urgent is seldom important.
In his book, Seven Habits, Stephen Covey dedicated a whole chapter to the Eisenhower matrix. And he basically said that in line with the video I just showed you, if it's in quadrant 3, urgent but not important, I should delegate it once again. If it's in quadrant 4, it shouldn't be even part of my list. I should just delete it. Yes, sometimes we are going to be forced to operate in quadrant 1, where things are urgent and important, bearing in mind that that's the crisis mode quadrant. But by and large, we should be operating in quadrant 2. Things are not urgent, but it's important. And that's where the whole thing comes in of taking charge, right? Your line manager comes to you and says, listen, I want this done by Monday. You look at your watch and say, but hang on, it's 1 o'clock or 12:30 on a Friday afternoon. I need to pull my guys in, my team in, and they need to work overtime, etc., etc. And you ask your line manager, but hang on, when do you actually need it? No, for the board meeting on Wednesday morning. But if I give it to you on Monday afternoon, can that work still? Yeah, absolutely. Take charge. Move it from quadrant 1, in this case, in this example, to quadrant 2. You are more in control. You can manage your pace, and you can get your guys, your team. When I say guys, I always mean guys and ladies. You can get your team to get a well-earned rest over the weekend. And Monday morning, after you prep them today already, Monday morning, you can kick off and get it done. So Covey calls quadrant 2 the heart of effective personal management. And people rather who operate in quadrant 2, he says, gets the job done, gets the results. I kid you not, this is what he said in his chapter. You can go and read it. They know how to say no, and they know how to delegate. And he says they get to the top quicker and with a smile on their dial. I have an Excel tool that my wife developed. She's an Excel boffin, where the Eisenhower matrix, in terms of the video that you just saw, you can actually use this tool, type it in, rate your tasks according to importance and urgency, and it will automatically allocate a few in the different quadrants. And yes, there are only 30 tasks, but of course the question is, if you have more than 30, is that really sustainable in terms of things that you really have to focus on? If you're interested in getting this tool, drop me a mail and I'll gladly forward it to you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
We all have this one life to live. A fleeting shadow amongst all that exists in this vast universe. We have the ability to accomplish anything, truly anything, if we use our time wisely. Is this jar full?
Yes.
And is it full now?
Yes.
And how about now? Is the jar full now?
Yes.
Yeah, it is. Now, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. Golf balls are the important things, your family, your friends, your health, and your passions. The pebbles are the other important things, your car, your job, your home. And the sand is everything else, it's just the small stuff. Now, if you put the sand into the jar first, you won't have room for the pebbles or the golf balls. The same is true in life. If you spend all your energy and your time on the small stuff, you won't have time for all the really important things that matter to you. Pay attention to the things that are critical to your happiness. take care of the golf balls first, the really important things. Set your priorities, because everything else is, it's just sand. Yes?
Professor, what does the beer represent?
I'm glad you asked. It goes to show that no matter how full your life may seem to be, there's always room for a couple of beers with a friend.
I'll talk to you next about procrastination. And there is a direct correlation, as far as I'm concerned, between that and perfectionism. Mason Cooley said, procrastination makes easy things hard and hard things harder. And I believe we need to be able to distinguish between what are the important things that I really need to get as perfect as possible. Ask yourself that question. Give an example. If I have to send an email to a CEO, as far as the proposal is concerned, obviously I'm going to pay more attention, take more time. If I send a mail to my sons or my wife, I just type and I send it. There might be typos in there. It's not perfect, but they get the message. Distinguish between what's really important versus what's not that important in order to assist you not to procrastinate. Using time blocks. Here's another book on my shelf, which I finished a couple of months ago. And what Damon Zariades said is simply this. At its simplest, time blocks, it's about reserving time slots during which you work on specific tasks. Everything else on your to-do list is set aside during these periods, or ideally, given their own dedicated time blocks. So I'm doing my month end today. And this morning I applied time blocks. I literally tried and focused just doing all my month end stuff, including invoicing and payments to suppliers. And Mia, who's on the call, is going to say to you, but hang on, you listened to my voice tag. I did, because that's also an important thing. She and I are planning next week as far as the webinar is concerned. Time blocks. Somebody comes to your office, say, listen, can you help me with this? Say to them, sorry, I'm just working on this critical thing. Can I get back to you in half an hour? Respect your time blocks, especially around your priority items. Finding balance. Critical, as opposed to only working. Because remember, if you only work, you only have one spoke on that wheel, the wheel of life, and you will be unbalanced. And finding balance is critical, especially and also when you say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. It's a thing I called sample habits that I also refer to in my book. If I don't have time to do an hour stint in the pool preparing for a mid-mile or another mile race, then I would only spend half an hour in the pool. Or if I can't even do that, I still stick to the important routine of exercising. I might just take my best friend for a walk around the block, which is not the dog, by the way, it's my wife. At least I get some exercise, get some experience outside of my home. And then dealing with emails. I type an email, I check it through Grammarly, and then I send it after I've read it. And you're going to say to me, Hekkie, we're living in an era where we have death by email. I agree. But there are some things that you can maybe do to manage your inbox, forward to somebody else, because it's actually their responsibility. Delegating it, spoke about that. Booking a meeting to address it, archive it, get it out of your inbox. And then finally, time wasters and distractors. Kind of summarize everything we spoke about earlier. The point is we need to stay focused on the things that really matter, on the game changer stuff, on the things that will really take my business and my life forward. Keep your focus. I think the ultimate time waster, ladies and gents, is a lack of discipline, self-discipline, which is something we've spoken about in one of our sessions before. Thomas Jefferson said, if you want something you've never had, you must be willing to do something you've never done. And I want to encourage you to think about that and to reflect more. Here's another quote. Abe Lincoln. Lincoln said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I will spend the first 4 hours sharpening the axe. If we reflect also in the way we manage our time, we can realize and recognize that the next time we need to do something differently better in order to become more productive. So my point to you is practice. If we practice, we ingrain new habits. We get rid of old bad ones. Reflect, practice. And by doing that, we can also become, in relation to time management, much more productive. I hope that was helpful in terms of getting your personal productivity or launching it and taking it to a new level. That, ladies and gents, is the end. Please take note of our next Free Friday Lunch webinar talking about presentation skills end of next month. Please book for that on our system, or let me know if you want me to send you an invitation. Please invite me to your LinkedIn network if you haven't done so already. On that note, I'm going to escape here. We have a couple of minutes left to field some questions. Anybody? Criticism. I'm happy with that. I'm old enough to take that and to see if it's valid or not, so that I can also improve to become better, because I'm very far
Hi,
from
Hekkie.
perfect. Yebo, go for it.
It's Jennifer.
Hi, Jennifer.
Thank you again for the lovely presentation.
My pleasure.
What I was saying in terms of delegation from my own experience,
Yeah.
even if it's a reasonable work instruction you give, or you see that the person meets the prerequisites, what I found helped me is if I added a layer or an angle in terms of support. I actually put it on the chat, where you come from the angle of I, as your leader, require
Yeah.
support. So you make
Yes.
yourself vulnerable, them you're on the same level. And the buy-in is, as opposed to telling them, listen, it's a reasonable work instruction, you have the skills, they're going to just execute the task. But when you add the layer of support, what I find is they strive to meet the same level of delivery. Because
Yes.
that's one of the biggest things as leaders in a way. Is the delivery going to be as polished as, we
Yeah.
say that, but we know we do that where we say, oh, if you want something done, great, do it yourself.
Yeah.
But when you get this, you have so much less stress, because you know what? That person and I are playing double tennis, not single. So they are going to strive to maintain that level. That's
Yeah.
in my personal experience when it comes to delegation.
Good one, Jennifer. I appreciate that. Very good insights. Thanks for that. My dad always used to say that if you want something done properly, you do it yourself. It's one of the two things in my life he told me that I don't agree with. We don't have time to get to the other one, but all the other things that he taught me and still teaches me, I do believe in. Absolutely, good thing to become vulnerable. As leaders, we're often too proud to do that.
To ask for help.
Absolutely, ask for help, and by doing that, you actually you strengthening the bond within your team, and you're truly driving the true team concept home, right?
Mm.
Thank you for that. And also, just quickly, performance readiness. Make sure the people that you delegate to are able to conform
have
and
the
execute the
skills.
task. And if they're not, guide them more than you would have guided somebody else. It's very proficient and maybe almost at your level. And then based on that as well, you follow up more or less, but you have to follow up because
For
ultimately
sure.
you're accountable. Thanks,
Yeah,
Jennifer.
the situational leadership. Thank you, Hekkie.
Thank you, Jennifer. Miyaski, sorry.
And also, when you're making a request or instruction as a leader, do it accordingly. Say, do X for me by Z time according to A standards for this reason.
Yeah, be
Because
specific.
you can go front and back with emails and things get back not detailed enough, and that saves time as well.
Absolutely, be specific, because then you might just get better results as well, which will ultimately benefit you, and preferably do that in person, right? Mia, thanks for that. Much appreciated. Ladies and gents, we are over time. Apologies for that, but I wish you a wonderful weekend, and it's as always great to have you. And thanks for joining in. And I hope I can see you again at the end of September. All the best.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.